Right on. Okay, so I would like to move on to the next question, and this one here is for St. James or Steve. Steve, what is your creative process, and what influences it?
Once again, a big question from DJ Seith. So I had a bit of a difficult time because creative processes, I mean, as Chandra was saying, the overlap between life and art can kind of be like that Venn diagram is just a circle. You know what I mean? Like it's basically the same thing, and it can be tough to parse, but the process itself, it goes to the catalyst for it has to be what we were talking about before, which is the safe spaces. When we're in that garage, a block away from my house, that was just a friend's house that he had access to, and it was a musical place where people could get together, and there's speakers and there's microphones, and other people are doing their music. I wouldn't have started writing, I don't think, if it wasn't for that place to be just, you know what I mean? Hey, let me give that a shot. And for me, it was always lyricism, because that's what I do. I write lyrics to DJ Seith's banging beats. So thanks, DJ. See, you're remarkable. And the lyrics or rhyming and music has always been kind of in my head. It's been a part of me. So when I heard Alphabet Aerobics by Gift of Gab, Blackalicious, the first time, it I knew hip hop and I knew rap because of DMX and Cash Money and No Limit Records and these sorts of guys, but I didn't know hip hop and how lyricism could be used as this beautiful, creative expression. So Alphabet Aerobics, the concept of the song is using A for a bar, like all A's. So it's alliteration all the way through, and then B's all the way through, and C's all the way through. And it's a remarkable accomplishment, right? So it really kind of blew my mind. And then I started to get into more of that kind of hip hop, where it was, it's referred to as underground or conscious hip hop. Really, it's just welcoming, inclusive music, which is what really drew me in. So I'd start to hear, I'd hear a sentence somewhere, and my brain would start to rhyme with automatically, right? So I'd always been kind of practicing for being a lyricist without kind of knowing it, because I didn't have the confidence, to be honest. There's a lot of imposter syndrome when I hear other people who are so ingrained in their endeavors, their art. I feel like I haven't been doing it that long, in a sense, and you know what I mean. But it really has been something that's been percolating, like everything in life. It's very, you know what I mean, holistic, and I've been working on it, quote unquote, for a long time. But that safe space allowed me to actually use it as an outlet, compose some lyrics, get positive feedback from really good people, really kind and encouraging people that, like Seith, for example, amongst other guys guys and girls who were there. You know what I mean? It was that was, like I say, the catalyst for me having a creative outlet. So when Seith and I started to actually get together and do some songs together, it started off with one concept that we do some back and forth. I do a little bit of emceeing, so I'd write a bar, some lyrics, and then DJ Seith would come in with some samples, right? So we'd be rhyming back and forth between samples and emceeing, which is something that we're still working on to this day. But in
Always
the
in progress.
meantime, always in progress. But in the meantime, we've come up with a number, basically a performance. You know what I mean? A show that we can put on and make people hopefully feel inclusive. Now, in terms of the creative process itself, it's kind of like a puzzle to me, I suppose. I was originally thinking that it was more of a creating something from nothing, right? You got a blank piece of paper and you're creating something from nothing. Now, when Chandra mentioned that, you know what I mean, everything is kind of, you know what I mean? There's different ways to do it, of course. So DJ Seith, he's using samples from different albums and then putting the puzzle together and making something new. I had the concept of something from nothing, but really that's a micro concept. All the things that are in my head, that are, you know what I mean, that all these lyrics, if you will, or these concepts that I want to get out, it's from intaking other art and other music and other ideas and other perspectives in that, right? So in the micro sense, you are literally like looking at a blank page and creating something from that blank page. stage. And then it is remarkable to see it go through the process of, a puzzle where you have one bar and then you need to, substitute a word or think of a better word. And the amazing thing about poetry, in my opinion, is the way that you can use language. So there's different, consonants. Some of them are harder and some of them are softer, and you can play with those sounds to make it really hit in terms of the music itself. And that's fun because it really is a puzzle trying to, make it sound as appealing to you, to your coworker, your co-conspirator, and then hopefully the people who are intaking it when you're on stage and that, right? And as well with the creative process with Seith in particular, a lot's been spoken of kind of how to make a level of comfort and then continue to proceed and create and come up with things that really are that haven't been done before, but are of the same nature and sentiment of positivity that you want to kind of express in the world, and inclusivity, like I keep saying, right? So the other thing about hip hop is that there is a level of braggadocio with it, which is inherent to, the culture of hip hop, where, it could be used a little bit as a crutch because it's just something to talk about. You know what I mean? I'm the best, and but nonetheless, there's an element of it. So, right. So, but there's definitely an element of that, and what I learned from an artist called Aesop Rock, who's somebody that I really look up to in terms of his poetic abilities. He started to talk about how he's not using the word I or you. It's we or us, you know what I mean? And it is just changing that, I've noticed, in terms of a couple words, allows for more accessibility to the music, you know what I mean? As opposed to being me and you separate. And that really, I internalized that. So there's all these sorts of fascinating aspects to living and taking things in that will then just simply come out in the music and the way that you know what I mean, formulate things essentially. So
absolutely.
The other thing I wanted to touch on really quickly, and I'm sorry to keep going on, but this is awesome because creative process is like, life. So it's the spice of life. I heard, and I don't know who it was. If I was smarter, I'd know who said it, but where there's no input, there's no output. You know what I mean? And that to me is huge. And it could be input in terms of, like, I'll listen to Charlie Tuna and Latif and Latif the Truth Speaker and Lyrics Board and Gift of Gab and these guys, and I'll feel like I want to write, you know what I mean? But if I'm not inputting the things around me, my community, the world at large, history, all these things, then I don't. What am I going to output? You know what I mean? I don't have much to contribute that's actually of value in a sense. So you can use those items, those things, to then, like I say, have the output and know when you're being either subversive. You know what I mean? So in one of my lyrics, there's a concept amongst certain individuals that, excuse my language, but fuck your feelings, right? And that comes from a certain element of people to a large degree. But as I kind of assess that in my own mind, I'm thinking that their xenophobia and racism and that sort of thing comes from feelings, you know what I mean? So being subversive, using that kind of term that I know that is used against positive people, essentially, it's so fuck your feelings, because we rely on reason and concede that the victor is narrating the teachings, you know what I mean? So there's an element of subversion, but you can't get that without intaking the history of what we're living in, essentially. So that's a huge element of the creative process, and I'm surrounded by people that, God bless you guys, foster and allow for that sort of sentiment. I mean, it's a wonderful thing. So I think I've spoken enough. I'm sorry to go on.
No, that's really good. I like how you touch on subversion in poetry. I mean, there's definitely this subversion is everywhere in poetry, and it really is kind of like I've always looked at it as a way of remixing, whatever language it is that's being used. Like the language being this kind of standardized big whatever brick wall kind of thing, and then you're kind of taking some bricks out, maybe painting them a little bit differently, putting them back in while nobody's looking, kind of thing. Like, yeah, it's interesting. Maybe painting a flower.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that idea. That's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And a shout out to Propagandhi. They're an old Canadian punk band. They have an album called Less Talk, More Rock, and talk about subversion. If you read the lyrics, listen to the album. Oh my God, it is remarkable.
Oh my God.
I highly recommend it.
I love saying that. Oh my God. Oh my God. You need to listen to this thing. Oh my God.
It's amazing.
Lovely. Thank you so much, St. James. That was a beautiful, beautiful sentiment that you shared with all of us there. And thank you for allowing us to get into your creative process a little bit there.